Welcome back to school. This is going to be a quick little reading. I think before I do that, I'm going to make this high contrast so it's not so bright on my eyes. I'm going to go through and read through this front matter and all that other fun stuff pertaining to these pedal things that I've been working on. This book, I think you can find it on like Amazon. I did find a copy on Amazon, but I think it's also under public like domain or whatever. Um, but yeah. So it sounds like it's by some guy by the name of Nilson, and I had heard about this book when I was I was watching something on YouTube, and they said that this is a really good book for pedal work. Copyright. Let's see what that is. 1904. 1904. So, yeah. Alright, so here's the introduction. So I will have my little thing read it, and I'm trying to get as much on the page so that it can be seen, but yeah. Okay, so now I gotta get this up. The screen reader.
Talk back on. Page 5 of 6. Page 5 of 69.
Okay.
Zoom 222%. Preface. In the course of a private teaching experience, extending over several years, the attention of the author was early drawn to the deficiency which characterizes all con- temporary instruction books for the organ. In the matter of pedal technique, in all the organ schools consulted by the author, he has found the pedal exercises wanting in system and completeness. For most musical instruments, we can point to thorough and comprehensive instruction books, but the majestic organ, in spite of its widespread employment and boundless capabilities, is still without one, at least in so far as it should include a systematic pedal minor school, corresponding to its incomparably superior sister, the manual school, which has of late years profited by the improved facilities for a thorough education in pianoforte technique. Again, the highly developed piano minus playing of the present day promotes in a general way rapid execution on the manuals of the organ, with results that would be called pleasing if the pedals had never been invented, and Bach and Handel had never lived. Provided, of course, that the player has acquired a beautiful and flowing legato, and so we must not be surprised at the praise often lavished by the ignorant upon one or the other of these manual virtuosi, for if only he possess advanced pianoforte technique and a fair share of imaginer minus tion, he has the whole art of modern organ minus building at his disposal, ready to help with all its varied effects in hiding the gaping defects of his piano-bred organ minus playing. It is a melancholy fact that only very few eminent organists since 16,906 Bach's time have made it their business to lift pedal playing out of its primitive confusion. Although Bach, Buxtehude and Handel asterisk in their beautiful and expressive pedal passages have given the world unsurpassable examples of the material on which to base a well-ordered pedal technique. In spite, therefore, of the respect due to such masters as Kittel, Rink, Topfer, Hess, Ab, Vogler, and others, we are not entitled to grant them any credit for improvement in the system of playing on the pedals, as far at least as can be judged by the organ schools which they have left behind. Vogler indeed did not disdain in his notorious organ recitals to let the pedals play the part of a pulping mill and a thunder machine, an absurd proceeding which is by no means with minus out parallel in the organ playing of our own day. Among the many causes which hamper pedaling from the player's side, by no means the least important are those which result from the technical difficulties of classical organ music, and it must be admitted that to become a Bach minus player of any account demands a pedal technique which is by no means to be acquired from any of the above named organ schools. A frequent result is that organists often estimate the merits of classical compositions in a one-sided and partial manner, each judging from his own artistic standpoint. Some have been found to liken the incomparable works of a genius like Sebastian Bach to a parish church, and Adolf Hesse's trivial compositions. Asterisk, the author must refer to the modern editions of Handel's music, with obbligato pedal English organs of that day had no pedals, and the Concerto in BB, number 7 in English editions, is the only work in which Handel included a separate staff for the pedals. Translator.
I think, yeah, that might be the end of the note.
Page
Okay.
back button. The preface. To a cathedral among gentlemen of this kidney, classical music will hardly meet with its rights. And if in addition we remark that most parish organs are unluckily furnished only with coupling minus pedals, and those of incomplete compass on which no obbligato pedal part can be played, the above comparison between Bach and Hesse appears even more crude and paradoxical, since, to speak truly, Hesse's organ minus works, and the execution they dare minus manned, are mere trifles compared to the master minus pieces of the giants Buxtehude and Bach, while the author has endeavored to show the shortcomings of all the organ schools B minus bequeathed to us by the above minus named masters. He regards it as a pleasant duty to acknowledge the organ minus school of J. Lemens as a welcome exception for this work, breaking away as it does at once from the tramping method of former days, may with justice be called a school of reform in pedaling. It would have been most desirable that the pedal section of this organ minus school should have been systematically extended to the stage of advanced technique, but since it does, in spite of its limitations, indicate clearly the new path, it only remains for the acquirement of a technique adequate to modern needs to faith minus fully follow and develop the sound principles of execution which are revealed in Lemon's organ minus school. Courtesy demands the explanation that in speaking of the defective organ schools of the older masters, we refer only to the pedal sec minus tions. Manual minus playing is properly taken care of in all of them. After unceasing thought on all these matters, the author has decided to publish these tech minus nickel studies in pedal playing in the hope that they may prove a help to all honest playing, being convinced that those institutions whose aim is to promote the study of the organ will fully upper minus see it every honest attempt to further the object they have in view. The author.
So you know
Page
that page. Then we have some more reading with the intro.
back.
What is this? Oh, the instructions.
Page 8.
I'm gonna skip over all these images because there's not much text, but basically, from what it looks like, they show the actual position of the feet when they're playing toe to heel, heel to toe, things like that. That's what these are. Then there's some more reading and
Page 10 of
more examples,
page
and
11 of
then more examples and more reading.
page 12.
So
Page page 4.
I don't know. That's more music.
Page page 6.
Yeah,
Page 7.
quite a bit of little examples in here.
Page 8.
Yeah.
Page
Okay.
19.
So
Page
there's a lot of music and
page
examples,
21 of 69.
and that's where the actual pedal exercises begin. So we're just gonna
Page
read.
20 of 69.
We're just gonna read up to part 2.
Pa-
There isn't any reading
Page
after that.
page 14 of 69.
Skip
Page
through
12
all
of
the
69. Page 10. Page 9.
examples here.
Page 7. Page 3 of 60. Page
So
page
It's the
5.
preface.
Page 6.
Okay, now if we go. Don't know how to get this to all fit, but
Part 1 Instructions. The pedals and their employment. By the pedals from the Latin the foot, or, perhaps more correctly from pedalus, of or belonging to. The feet is here signified that special department of the organ, invented by Bernard the German about 1450 of which the keyboard having a compass of something over 2 octaves is played with the feet, and has keys of a shape suited to this purpose. The true function of the pedals is to supply to the manuals an independent or obligato bass part, to employ the pedals in season and out of season as a mere strengthening part to make them serve a bass and homophonic drudgery by doubling the manual bass. In the octave below is such a misuse and shows such poverty of invention that it ought to be avoided in all good organ music, though the modern exponents of extempore playing resort to it only too often there are, it is true, some occasions when this use of the pedals is impressive and quite justified, but these occur only in accompaniments, especially in those of masses, chorales, hymns, and the like, never or very rarely in polyphony, or in independent organ music. Excellent guidance in this matter has been furnished us in the works of Buxtehude, Bach Handel, Albrechtsberger, and many others. Unfortunately, the poor starved homophonic use of pedals has had a similar influence on the art of organ building, in so much that builders have been led to adopt the equally poor starved coupling pedals, which tend considerably to hinder the progress of sound organ minus playing. It is to be hoped that improved pedal technique, honest playing, and contrapuntal training will before long affect the abolition of coupling pedals in favor of independent pedal organ. General explanation. The student is advised not to accompany his pedal exercises in unison on the manual, as experience shows that this form of practicing is not to be recommended. To acquire, at the same time, certainty in attack and rapid execution, every note played by a foot not previously engaged should be struck with the foot parallel to the key, as shown in the following diagram. 16906. Hey,
And these are the diagrams.
back, button. Page 9. The difference between the angles through which the foot moves in the intervals of a second and a third, respectively, renders it plainly necessary to practice each of them separately with extreme strictness, taking great care that the angular movements, especially the more difficult, are performed slowly at first, but with unfailing correctness in accordance with the positions indicated by the diagonal lines in the above drawings, and the student must work thus through the given exercises in progressive order. The pace may afterwards be gradually increased. These angular movements for seconds and thirds, when combined in the same passage, form so important a part of the student's technique that we here present several specimen diagrams demonstrating to the eye the nature of this class of difficulty. Thus, in Fig. 3a, Fig. 3a, $9, B, 9, 8, lambda, allow you, shows the appearance which a passage will bear when the first note is played with the toe. B gives the reversed appearance of the same figure when the passage of notes printed below is commenced with the heel, while the more elaborate figure at C illustrates a more complex design produced by the mixture of seconds and thirds. The reverse of this figure C might be produced by beginning the passage with the heel as A is reversed. At B, in performing these mixed passages of seconds and thirds, the feet reach several different positions, some more forward on the keys, some farther back, owing to the different size of the arc traversed in execut minus in the various intervals. In A and B, two such different positions are reached in C3, the third position being the farthest back. B, T dollar, A or U, plus, C A, Lao, Fei, 8906, B, plus, iota lambda. First position. Second.
I think it's just reading a bunch of stuff. I'm not sure where it's reading, but it's not reading text. I don't think it is.
Page 10 of special attention must be paid to such sequences as those in Fig. 4 which rarely occur except when playing in octaves on account of the shifting of position which they involve. Fig. A shows the impossibility of carry minus ing out such a passage without sliding the foot along the Fig. 4. A. Key, while B shows how this sliding is to be effected. And here, also the figure will assume a reversed appear minus. As if the passage is commenced with the toe instead of the heel. BUO other U. 16,000.
More focus.
Page 11.
Talking.
Back.
Another diagram, a little bit more
On
reading.
all keyed instruments there are certain steps. From one key to another, which are the same in size. Though the musical intervals they represent may be different, this is seen in Figs. 5 and 6. Since the feet. Fig. 5. Compare the printed notes with the pedal diagrams. A. Unlike the hands cannot enlarge or diminish their stretch, it follows that more importance attaches to observing the actual size of steps on the pedals than on the manuals. B. Page. Page. Back. Button.
So make sure there's no reading at the bottom.
In the pedal diagrams in Figs. 7, 8, 9, 10 are shown the movements of the feet in similar arpeggios in different keys. It must, however, be remarked that the example in Fig. 8 cannot well be executed on the pedal minus boards now in use, since their construction as before. Fig. 7. Observed is not adapted for perfectly systematic pedal minus playing. A comparison in each case of the notes with the pedal diagram will show the importance of the latter to the student of technique. 9-6. Lambda lambda. AU.
More weird writing.
Page 4.
That one just has music.
Page
Another diagram with music.
9. Fig. 9. Oh, the O. Lambda. Many more explanations of the same character, which must be omitted here, are nevertheless of such value that a future generation, more interested in the subject, will doubtless work them out and accord them due attention, but the examples given above will furnish a clear and distinct indication of the principles of a scientifically built-up pedal technique. To keep the movements of the feet as small and as natural as possible is the first and most important con minus condition of ready execution on the pedals. 116,906. Page 16.
Oh god, whatever part this is.
Explanation of the exercises.
Oh, it's explanations of the exercises. At least I know when to move it up.
Explanation of the exercises. A. Exercises in diatonic seconds. For each foot alone. Section 1. In these exercises, from number 1 to number 12 inclusive, the toe strikes the accented notes, and the exercises should be practiced again with the heel on the notes previously struck by the toe. The exercises with notes repeated on an accent. Exercises 13 to 18 include repeated notes, which the beginner is apt to strike noisily. This mistake must be corrected, and the exercises performed with such suppleness as to avoid making a clatter on the keys, and also to connect the notes into a satisfactory legato. See exercises in which the foot advances by taking a new position. The exercises from number 18 to number 24 include repeated notes on which the foot advances into a new position. After each group of notes under a slur, the foot is to be considered free, hence the next note is to be struck with the foot parallel to the key, and only afterwards must the foot be turned sideways. These exercises, like those under A, must be repeated with the places of heel and toe reversed. D. Exercises in diatonic thirds. For each foot alone. These must be treated like the preceding exercises. It must be remarked that pedal practice demands shoes with specially light soles, and that heels of the French type which are under the middle of the foot, are out of the question when performing such exercises as these. A. The constant habit among beginners of commencing a passage with the foot diagonally across the keys has to be frequently corrected by the teacher. The attack with the foot askew is very seldom called for in passages for one foot alone, though in passages for both feet straight and askew positions may both be used in turn with full justification, as will be explained later. Exercises on mixed seconds and thirds. For each foot alone. In several of these exercises the foot has to slide a little in order to keep it in a middle position, see Fig. 3. The backward movement of the foot may, however, in a few cases be allowed to extend even to the third position on the long keys. Such exceptional cases as are shown in Figs. 7 and 9 above do not apply as regards the position of the feet and the attack with the toe askew to exercises like the present. F chromatic exercises for each foot alone. The sliding motion which occurs in these exercises is from the sloping end of the sharp key to the next following natural key. Even here the correct design of the pedals is of importance, for if the sharp keys are cut off square at the end, the keys are more likely to rattle than if their ends are sloped. If the pedals are carefully bushed with felt and their surfaces are even and smoothly polished, it will be highly conducive to noiseless execution and easy sliding from one key to another. Section 2. Exercises for both feet together. The aim of these exercises in contrary motion with varied footing is partly to promote increased facility in what was acquired previously and at the same time to prepare the way for what is to follow. It is especially important that these exercises should not be laid aside until a rapid tempo has been attained. With every variety of footing, be solid and broken octaves. A difficulty occurs here which is not so easily surmounted as might be supposed at first sight. 4. 16,906. Here, as in all octave playing on the pedals, the rule holds good without exception that the first attack of the feet and the subsequent side movements must be metrical and simultaneous. In other words, whether the heels move or the toes, they must at all points in the arc which they describe keep precisely the same distance between them. This rule applies not only to exercises in solid or simultaneous octaves, but in a still higher degree to those in broken octaves, for by this method of practice, conscientiously carried out, the student may acquire a technical facility which will exceed all his expectations. The same rules apply equally to thirds and sixths, both broken and solid. Page.
Next page. More music examples.
To ensure retaining the regularity of the motions of the feet, when playing broken intervals, it is recommended that the student go through the solid intervals of the same kind every second or third time and pay good heed that the angular movements of the feet are simultaneous in the broken no less than in the solid intervals. The student is advised to do his utmost to secure a true legato, such a legato that is as results from press minus in every key down to its full extent and joining every sound in the legato phrase closely to the next one. There is another kind of legato, which may be called a bad legato. Light legato, which floats, as it were, on the top of the keys, and results in pressing them only halfway down. And it is much to be deplored that this half minus legato, which produces an inferior tone from the organ, has often become a deeply rooted habit under lazy and thoughtless teaching. Without a firm legato, true organ playing becomes inconceivable. It is likewise to be observed that the student, before he has mastered a true legato, manifests at first a tendency to hold the accented notes beyond their proper length. This error is illustrated in full in the following example. 9. The U. The U. O a U. A. 9. Lambda. Whereas when the above fault has been corrected, the passage will regain its original appearance, as shown below. Good. Legato. 9C. U. A U. O. U. OOA. Lambda. The absolute superiority of the method proposed in the present work over the older ones does not lie in the construction of the exercises so much as in the nerve practicing them. The one aim of the technical directions given in the whole of this part is to attain, by means of the smallest and most natural movements, to a smooth execution, to accuracy, to rapidity, and to a true legato. Section 3. This section, which consists of free adaptations from the previous one, attempts to show how and when deviations from the previous rules may be allowed. 16,906. Such a case occurs in X. A3, an exception in footing. Inasmuch as the feet move on 1 degree to a new position before they find it necessary to use any angular motion, that this movement is an advantageous, except minus T on 2. The rule can be proved experimentally by a thorough trial of both methods.
Next
Page.
section.
Back button.
Not much writing there.
When the pupil reaches XS 15 and 16, he will find further proofs of the wisdom of such exceptional footings, though they by no means invalidate the general application of the original rule. In B there likewise occur footings which involve a mixture of angular motion with change of position, and excess. C, nose. 27, 28, 29, are planned for acquiring accuracy in moving the whole foot onwards. Here the pupil is apt to swing his feet about needlessly, a fault which calls for correction. In excess 30-31 occurs mixed legato and staccato in conjunction with a mixed footing, partly of angular motion and partly of moving the whole foot. The staccato must, like all organ staccato, be so performed that the keys are pressed down as far as they will go. And the legato, as before mentioned, must be a true legato. Section D consists entirely of exercises for changing the feet on one key in passages both of single and double notes. The clearness of such passages, however, depends much upon the proper construction of the pedal board. Such exercises are intended merely for the improvement of execution, for no good organ music would contain passages like these. A major scales. Section 4. The footing of these, as well as of the minor scales, is in the main the same as that employed by J. Lemons in his organ minor school, but since the pedal scales in the present work have been considerably extended in length by varying their outlines, in order that the pupil might a old footing not lay them aside too soon, it has been found necessary to modify the footing in several places. It will therefore be both useful and necessary to give a few analytical demonstrations of those alterations of footing which have been suggested by experience as conducive to improved technique, together with some remarks on the footing of scales in general. B. Lemon's footing. 3. 9. C. Author's footing. C. 9. R. B. Lambda UU thou lambda. D. Demonstration. OU lambda D. Legato. R. The U. O lambda. UV. That the footing atta has come to be regarded as a mere solecism in the light of our ideas is due to Lemons, and the reform founded by him upon truth and nature. For had it not been for this pioneer of truth, the adepts in the old double shuffle footing might have rested content with their unintelligent method for a long time to come. Lemon's footing is shown at B and the author's at C. E. Lemon's footing. The footing at C, which provides for a strict legato, not only for the scale in its entirety, but also for the part played by each foot separately, as shown at D, is alone adapted for rapid execution. As another example of the improved footing, the scale of B flat major is given. F, author's footing. U, F, the U or U, E, 9-2, O, 16,906. Caret A, lambda, lambda, O lambda, O U, O. The old footing is not given, as being altogether impracticable. Page 19.
And there's some reading on this page
Back
too.
button.
Lots of music examples.
G. Demonstration. G. Legato. O. H. Demonstration. A. O. U. O caret. Legato. B. U or lambda. The. U. U. Are U O a U. Lemon's footing is shown at E, and the authors at F. The footing at F is not only calculated for strict legato as proved at G, but also affords variety in scale practice as shown in the examples at H. Having adopted a certain form of scale passage as I, normal scale minus formula, I lambda, lambda, the normal formula for practice in all keys alike, we have next to determine the footing for each scale as framed on this formula, but the footing will be subject to partial modification in cases where the scale is altered or extended so as to differ from the formula, as in the following example. Allow lambda, lambda, u, ua, k, demonstration, legato, k, 9, lambda, uu, ua, 1, extended scale, lambda, or how, 1 lambda au, luar, 9, uor, r, m, demonstration, m, uu lambda, u the how o caret, lambda u, both in scales and in other melodic passages that footing is to be preferred, which will give the closest legato for the separate part played by each foot, and this should be for every thoughtful pupil the universal principle on which to base a reliable pedal technique. 16906. There is one other movement of the foot, which has been purposely left till the last, namely gliding from one sharp key to the next. These gliding movements must be practiced in such a way that the attack on the second key onto which we glide is, if possible, made.
Oh, next page.
Page 20.
Bottom of that. Oh wow, that's a lot of reading.
As firmly as any other attack. Sliding movements of this kind are, in spite of the most diligent practice, always uncertain in rapid passages. An improved con minus struction of the pedals is the only means by which they could be rendered superfluous. Asterisk. The melodic minor scales. The technical principles of construction and footing in these scales is in the main the same as in the major, and thus a description of them is superfluous. See harmonic minor scales. As the independent nature of these scales is much contested, the author intends to avoid entering into any asterisk. Translator's note. This gliding is performed as follows. While the foot is on the first key, raise slightly that side of the foot which is nearest to the second key, then if the pedals are as smooth as they should be, it is easy to slide the foot from one to the other. Details concerning them but such as bear upon Nick. In this respect these scales are well worthy of consideration, that the pupil may accustom himself to the recog minus nist form of this scale. All accidental chromatic signs are omitted, and are replaced throughout in the signature by those which by themselves proclaim the construction of the scale. In conclusion, the author feels bound to exhort the student who seeks to progress in pedal playing by help of these studies to ponder carefully the above technical rules and demonstrations, that he may by means of them, and still more by the use of his own intellect, become master of a method eminently based upon nature and upon scientific truth, for the exercises alone will not suffice, since these present only a series of passages for practice with marks for footing, but do not teach how to practice the passages to advantage. A few words on the musical education of organ students. The student who is gifted with musical talent and a turn for playing the organ, and who wishes to train himself in that art, must as early as possible work through the most important pianoforte studies, and only after this may proceed to the special study on the organ of grand style of music, which belongs to that sublime instrument for which no piano studies, even those of the most general application, are sufficient. It will be of great use to the intending organ pupil if his future study of the organ is so far taken into account that, during the latter part of his pianoforte studies, his teacher on that instrument will give the preference to work in the polyphonic style. This, however, is only that he may understand and become habituated to the independent motion of parts which belongs to polyphonic music. It is by no means advisable, though we find it done occasionally, to practice organ music on the piano, making use of the strict legato, the substitution of fingers, and other characteristics which are called for only on the manuals of the organ. Pianoforte minus playing must on the one side preserve its genuine independent style as much as organ minus playing on the other, especially as the organist, for economic reasons, is often forced to rely more on the former than on the latter, since it is the privilege of the organist more than of any other musician to be the exponent of the majestic fugue to a public whose musical culture is ever increase minus. It is only reasonable that these expounders of fugue should, during their student days, enjoy a thorough course of instruction in harmony, counterpoint, canon, and fugue, and should diligently apply themselves thereto. The organist with whom this knowledge is lacking can never turn to full account his technical powers, however great they may be, while his conception of his music, if he lacks musical scholarship, can never show a spark of ideality. Besides the technical and scientific training which is demanded by the organ with its elaborate and scholastic style of music, the student must also make a study of his grand instrument itself, and this must by no means confine itself to a mere knowledge of the pitch of stops, as reckoned in feet, their qualities, titles, and powers, alone or in combination, but must extend to the con minus struction, action, and material of the pipes, the wind chest, the reservoirs, bellows, wind trunks, couplers, and pneumatics, both of manual and pedal, both of draw stop action and key action. Every organ candidate who is thoroughly equipped in the above subjects possesses a musical education, which will make him a credit to the institution which grants him his degree. Such a player may rightly be placed in charge of a really fine organ, for the art of which he is master will return a full reward to the con minus gregation which honors him with an appointment.
I think that's the end.
Page
Yeah.
21 of 69.
That's all musical stuff. Okay. So, I think I should probably get dressed and head over and do what I do on Sunday mornings. I feel really tired, but that's what I have to do.
Accessibility shortcut button, window 1 UI home.
I gotta get this thing to shut up.
Edit shortcuts.
No.
Drive. As for accessibility shortcut button, window 1 UI home. Edit shortcuts. Magnification inlet. Partial screen magnification opened.
No.
Partial magnification on 200%.
I don't
Pop-up
want
window.
that.
Drag the handle.
I don't know what happened. I hope it shut up. Did it shut up? No, not yet. Oh, the magnification thing is there. I don't want that, though. You can see those notes very well, though. I think I made it mad. I don't know how to make it go away. Uh-oh.
Drag the handle to move the window. Tap the handle to adjust the magnification. Double tap to close.
What do I double tap on? Oh no. I can't get this thing to shut up.
Drag the handle to move the window. Tap the handle to adjust the magnification. Double tap to close.
Double tap what to close?
Drive.
Okay, so
as
that...
only as any other attack. Sliding movements of.
Shh. Quiet.
Accessibility shortcut button, window 1 UI home. Double tap to activate. Double tap. Talkback on. Talkback off.
Well, that like totally went up in volume. I don't know what that was about. Okay, so did it come back on? I don't know. Okay, so that's done. I've done a reading. Um, I will more than likely be continuing with this first one. I think I've only went through it like once, but I didn't do the extra, like the top notes. I might do those later. Is there a foot marking there? Oh, yes, there is. I think I'm gonna have to, I don't know if that's in that image or not, but well. But yeah, I'll do this. I'll do my other technical stuff, and I'll continue work on Bach and all that fun stuff. So if you want to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget, ring the notification bell for all notifications.